So I wanted to make a few short videos on the January transfer window that just passed yesterday. Make 20 short videos, one for each Premier League team, and just assess in a short form how their window went, where they may need to strengthen in the summer. So just want to go alphabetically and start with the team that probably had the worst window of all, being Arsenal. If we break in and out, not very many players in and quite a few players out, more than appear on this list, but I picked out what would be probably the headline departures at Arsenal. A weird relationship that Mikel Arteta seems to have with some of his players. He's had a lot of falling outs, high profile falling outs in his short time at the club. Obviously the biggest one being Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and his departure to Barcelona yesterday, terminating his contract by mutual agreement, saving reportedly £27 million for Arsenal. I think his wages were £350,000 a week. He had 18 months left on his deal, so that seems to have saved Arsenal about £27 million, but has also left them with only two forwards left really, in Eddie Nketiah and Alex Lacazette, and we'll come on to that later on. But looking at the composition of their team, they've let a few fringe players go in Callum Chambers, Kolasinac, Maitland-Niles and Pablo Mari, who weren't really getting any game time under Arteta, most of those being defenders that have gone out on loan. They seem to be set with Tomiyasu, Ben White, Gabriel and Kieran Tierney as a back four, and then a couple of others coming in like Nuno Tavares when Tierney isn't fit. But I mean, looking at the rest of Arsenal's team, they should have addressed central midfield. Obviously they've got Xhaka, Sambi Lokonga, Smith Rowe, Odegaard and the likes, but the way that Arteta's been playing with sort of two holding midfielders and then one of Odegaard or Smith Rowe in front, and with Granit Xhaka being as unreliable as he is, you kind of think that maybe they bring a more experienced partner in for Thomas Partey. I know they've got Lokonga, but he's only young, still adjusting to the league, and Granit Xhaka isn't the most reliable midfielder, as we all know. More red cards than goals, I think, in his time at Arsenal. But yeah, I thought they may have addressed central midfield. Maybe someone like Marcelo Brozovic from Inter Milan, who would have given them quite a solid central midfield base alongside a slightly more athletic Thomas Partey. But I think Arsenal were probably a little bit short-handed if they're pushing for the top four now, or even the top six really, against other teams that are in there. It's kind of, talking about being short-handed, you look at the forward line now, Lacazette and Nketiah. I don't think Eddie Nketiah has made an appearance in the Premier League this season. So you're going in with a striker in Lacazette who hasn't scored all that many in the last few seasons, and Eddie Nketiah who hasn't played all that much in the last few seasons, and obviously the third option listed there is Gabriel Martinelli, but he's played off the left for Arsenal. And if you want to move him into a central striking role, then suddenly you've got a gap on the left from someone who actually has been playing really well there as a kind of pressing winger that, is right-footed and classically cuts in and scores like wingers do now. But moving him out of position, then you have a hole on the left, and then maybe you can play someone like Smith Rowe or Odegaard out there, or bring Nicola Pepe back in, but he likes to play off the right. Bukayo Saka likes to play off the right, and then you have another gap there. So I don't know, maybe if they had signed either a left winger or a striker with Aubameyang outgoing, then they'd have had that depth. But as they haven't, it kind of leaves them with, between the two positions of strikers and left wingers, they only got really three players to cover that, one of which hasn't played in the league this season. So a really odd window for Arsenal, and I can only really grade, obviously. They're just a little bit like I come on to West Ham in a few videos' time. They're a team different to West Ham. They're a team that were in ascendancy for a long time under Arsene Wenger and have trailed off further under Unai Emery. And with Mikel Arteta, I still am a little bit out on him. I haven't been a massive fan of Mikel Arteta since he's come in. I'm not sure how Arsenal look going forward under him, but he seems to have quite a fractious relationship with players. Once he falls out, there doesn't seem to be a way back in. And in Arsenal's case, you think they want to be getting back into the Champions League as soon as possible. They've been out of it for a few seasons, and again, similar to West Ham, when you have that opportunity and the platform and the finances that they have, why wouldn't you want to press on? Even a team like Burnley have brought in Wout Weghorst, and I know he's not he's not what Arteta wants in terms of a player, but if you wanted to increase some depth with someone that, you know, can be there to offer a slightly different option in tough games, I mean, who do Arsenal turn to when a team beds themselves in at, I don't know, 1-1 with 10 minutes to go and they need to break them down? You know, look at someone like Weghorst. I know he's not a full target man, and he does press from the front, which is something that people, you know, or teams are looking for now, but just a lack of options for Arsenal, really. Haven't strengthened, have arguably weakened, even though Aubameyang hasn't been playing. I think that's weakened them anyway. You know, you take out your top goal scorer for the last 3-4 seasons and you don't replace him. You don't get a fee back for him, you know, more importantly. That's the big crux of this, is that Arsenal have bought in a lot of players, you know, over time. They spent £100 million last summer. I think most of those are working out quite well, with Ben White, Tomiyasu being the highlights really there, but yeah, just a confusing one for Arsenal. They kind of haven't gambled. I know they're not in any cup competitions anymore and they can't win the league, but at least they can try and make a press for, or a push for European football, and they haven't. And it just seems odd from a recruitment standpoint. I mean, even Liverpool, who are, you know, one of the best teams in the world at the minute, they've gone on and strengthened. You know, they've pressed on. Even, obviously, Man City haven't directly brought in a player, but, you know, they've now got Alvarez in the wings waiting to come in. So for Arsenal, I just think a very disappointing, lacklustre window, and it has left them really short-handed in attacking areas. They're going to rely on two players that haven't scored that many goals, backed up by a lot of young players who haven't scored too many goals either. And I know you can spread the goals out between the team, but Arsenal haven't massively spread the goals out, and they're yet to really find the best way to score. But this is the first of the 20 videos I wanted to make, just shorter form videos looking at teams' progress in the windows and seeing kind of if they've pressed on or whether they're conserving, or, you know, looking ahead for the future. And for Arsenal, I don't think there's been a whole lot of vision in this. The Aubameyang transfer was very messy. The lack of business through the door. I mean, at the beginning of the video, the images of Aubameyang and Vlahovic, and the Vlahovic transfer, I mean, doesn't seem like Arsenal ever had any chance of signing him, and they seem to propose, like, you know, £60-70 million on the table. Well, why has that money not gone elsewhere if they have that money available? Or are they just prospering and trying to satisfy their fans? I don't know, but yeah, they seem to be a striker short at the minute, and maybe a central midfielder short of really pushing to be in that top four conversation. I think there are at least 4 teams better than them currently, but we'll see how it goes in the summer. I hope that they recruit someone up front. Eddie Nketiah and Alex Lacazette are out of contract, as we all know, in the summer. Doesn't look likely that Eddie Nketiah re-signs. He's kind of made a few murmurs about that, linked to Newcastle in this window and previously, and I mean, we'll come on to them in another video, but with their recruitment, and players might be starting to look at that and go, wow, they are actually making some strides. So we'll see how Arsenal get on, but if they're not careful, they'll be usurped by Newcastle in 2 or 3 years, because they've kind of stood still or gone backwards in that time, recruitment-wise. But thank you for listening to this first video. The first of 20 videos I want to put out, just having a brief conversation, really, about each of the Premier League teams and what they've done in this January window. But that's my assessment of Arsenal. Not a very glowing one, but I hope for a lot more from them in the future, and maybe they need to restructure their recruitment setup. You know, Edu has done well last summer, but they've not done a lot since then, or really look to improve and not a plan for the future. But as I say, thank you very much for watching this content, and there'll be a few more videos coming your way. Thank you very much.